All right, you guys, we have quite a distinguished crowd here. Had a meeting this morning with most of the actors that were up here, and it was kind of reminiscent to me. I was telling the mayor that it wasn't that many years ago, it didn't seem like it anyway, that I was in that group. Every time we would have a major incident, none had been as bad as this. But when you look and you see everyone working together, and actually, you know, some people don't even like each other. They're working together, and everyone is doing this. And it was a great thing to go through. We had, of course, the governor wasn't there at that time, but he's here with us now. We had and all of the people who have been working on this, James Langford and Martin. Well, we have several. Of course, GT's been right in the center, and I know that because I used to have a hard job. As I mentioned this morning, I used to be mayor, and I know what it's like to be in the center of things when everyone comes together. Then Karen Keith. We call Karen Keith the star of the corrections that we're going to eventually, the levy that we're going to eventually have as a part of this thing. And this thing's been going together since the 40s, and there have been problems. It's served very well. No one thought this life of the levee would last as long as it did, but it's still performing. I was out on the levee this morning, and it's pretty wet up there, and you can see over. It's only about 4 feet down, I think, right now. So that was good. We have had a lot of cooperation. The National Guard, we were with the National Guard this morning. They're out there in the rain doing the work that they do. You hear about it, but you don't see it in action as often as you have seen the last few days. They're great, really doing great work. First responders, everyone, Red Cross, the whole crowd. It's been great, and everyone has been really working on. Todd Kilpatrick is over there kind of in charge of the levee, and you could actually see in the people who can't get in or out of their homes. And this is something that we haven't seen before. So this is what we have been able to visit with. And I do want to mention to those individuals who talked about my wife, I thank you very much for caring, and she still needs your prayers. And so keep that in mind. So anyway, that's what we've been doing this morning, and we have help is on its way. I would go into some detail on the levee, but I wouldn't cheat Karen Keith from that opportunity because she's on the scene and is one that we, as I say, we call her Miss Levy in our office. And I would say this: anyone who wants to get something done, and you want to get it done, and don't have anyone to back up, get Karen Keith, because she'll badger you to death until you get something done. Right, Karen?
I'm trying.
Good. Your Honor? Thank you. Oh, yeah, and this guy has just really done a great job, and I'm one of the few people in a position to know, because I've been there. Great work. Great work.
Thank you, Senator. I want to start with a couple updates. We were very fortunate last night. For the first time in about a week and a half, the weather broke our way. The rain that we were anticipating to be pretty severe ended up not being as bad as projected. And we'll get an update from the Corps here in a moment on what that means for release rates moving forward. But we believe that for today, that means the release rate will remain the same coming out of Keystone Dam. As was mentioned, we continue to keep a focus on the levee system. Just because we had one good night from a weather standpoint does not mean that we're going to be complacent in any way on this. We have to stay proactive on this, and we had a good example yesterday of the precarious nature of things that arise when folks don't proactively relocate. We had one particular neighborhood along the river that for the last 3 or 4 days we'd encouraged folks to go ahead and move out of. A lot of folks did. They took the advice and moved elsewhere, but we had a handful of folks that didn't. And late yesterday, As water was beginning to rise in that neighborhood, we recognized and made the decision that the neighborhood had to be evacuated. And Tulsa police were deployed to that neighborhood to go through the neighborhood to let people know they needed to get out there. And within 2.5 hours of the decision being made, power to that neighborhood was cut. Now, that shows you how quickly these things can evolve. And that's why we want to, again, ask folks who live behind the levees. In this neighborhood I just talked about, you're talking about a couple of streets, talking about maybe 24 folks max. You have thousands of people living behind those levees, and there is absolutely no need to wait until the last minute when an evacuation might be necessary. It is in the best interest of everybody, for the residents, for your neighbors, for the first responders, to go ahead and proactively relocate ahead of time rather than wait until the last minute for an incident to occur. So we want to continue to encourage folks, even though there is no emergency at the moment on our levees, there is high risk, and there will continue to be high risk as long as the releases from Keystone remain at this elevated level. Our shelters are seeing more and more people come in every day. One of our shelters is now full. I really want to thank the church community in this part of Oklahoma that has stepped up to provide these shelters for residents that have been displaced. Anyone that needs help with shelter needs to know where they should go, needs a ride to get one, needs a place to put their pet while they're in it. You can just call 211 and they'll give you all the information that you need. Our teams have been working around the clock to fill sandbags. We have more sandbags placed today at the Mabee Center at ORU for anybody that needs them. They're free of charge. Just come on by and pick up whatever you need. We have our street closures continue to evolve as water comes up in different areas. And so we now have a map that's on our city website that is updated anytime a new barricade goes up. If you want to know where those are, you can just go to cityoftulsa.org/rivermaps and see the latest information on street closures is the map you're going to want to click on. The last thing I want to say is that I've had the opportunity over the last couple days to visit with people who are here from all around the country. A lot of them from the media, a lot of them from first responders who've told me that Oklahoma first responders were there for them when they had a natural disaster in their community, and so they want to come and help us out in our moment of need. And the question that I've received from so many of these folks who come here is, you've been going through this now along this corridor and in this area for over a week. Isn't everybody getting frustrated and tired and angry? And it makes me so proud to be able to tell those folks how resilient the Oklahomans are that live along the Arkansas River in this corridor. How everybody is just taking it day by day, handling things as they come, and working together to watch out for our neighbors. You see that represented right here. We've had such strong support from our congressional delegation, from Senator Inhofe, Senator Lankford, and Congressman Hearn. And we have a governor who has been in the room with us every step of the way, letting us know that any state resources we need to protect lives in this community are there for us. That's so reassuring to have that support and to see folks out in the community, see the National Guard folks out there walking in the rain and in storms and in heat. Doesn't matter what the weather is. They're out there patrolling that levee 24 hours a day to keep people safe. So it is remarkable to see the way people in this community are pulling together and really showing what a resilient community and state this is. I'm so proud and thankful to have the opportunity to see that. And now, the man who is always the first person that every person in the Emergency Operations Center wants to hear from every morning, David Williams, our hydrologist with the Corps of Engineers.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning. Heavy rainfall this morning has largely remained below the reservoir, below Keystone Dam, and short-term weather models suggest that this trend will continue through the remainder of today. The reservoir peaked, its elevation peaked yesterday at elevation 757 and is now dropping. In the absence of additional heavy rainfall and inflow coming into the reservoir, we will maintain a release of 275,000 cubic feet per second through late tomorrow. At that time, we will begin to reduce the magnitude of that release. We will do so in a way that it does not add additional stress to the Tulsa-West Tulsa levee system. Therefore, you can expect to see a flow rate decrease to 150,000 cubic feet per second by Saturday, with further reductions to 100,000 cubic feet per second by early next week. Thank you.
So if it seems like we're not as tense today, same message that you just heard from David has given us a little bit of relief today. That does not mean that you shouldn't remain vigilant. I do want to again thank my agent, Senator Inhofe. In fact, would you come up here and stand with me? The two of us started working on this almost 12 years ago. Almost 12 years ago, trying to draw attention to these levees and the potential issues that we faced. And it's hard when it's been since 1986 that there were issues for people to say, they're okay. But it has been an all hands-on effort to make this old lady keep standing. And it's taken the National Guard, it's taken the Corps of Engineers with their best staff working with our levee district, who've had not a break since this all started. And with them working diligently together, they're doing the patches. We get a boil, they fix it. So when there are issues, they're on it. Today, they've called out a LIDAR. They're going to do radar to see if there's any penetrations anywhere that they don't yet know about. And so our thanks to OSU Geosciences for making that happen. So again, we will continue to work on this because our federal delegation is with us on this. You can see that. Congressman Hearn has been here 2 or 3 times this week. This guy's been standing by me for years, even though I'm a Democrat. We joke about that. But and of course, Senator Langford, he is well up on this issue. We'll see him again tomorrow. So just when the General Semonite came yesterday, he said, you got to have your federal delegation on board. And I'm so proud to say that, yes, in fact, they are a big part of our team. So we remain hopeful that we will have a long-term solution and fix for these levees. And I can't tell you how good that's going to feel for all of us. But in the meantime, maybe 5 years before that happens, we've got to continue to maintain these levees. We're going to have to do fixes after this storm. And after all of these things have passed, we're gonna have to dedicate some resources just to shoring it up till we get the permanent fix. But we're up to that task, and we will do it. Sand Springs, for those who live out in Meadow Valley, they've been working diligently with those residents and are now starting to think about what does recovery look like. And that is the same for us as we look at Town and Country. We're trying to figure out what resources they need to help get their lives back to some semblance of normal. We do ask that everybody still remain vigilant that lives along the levees. The levees, as you know, they're very fragile. So please, please just pay attention. And we, as you all know, would prefer that you go ahead and evacuate. Our sheriff, they have been all over the county doing unbelievable work. Right now, if you have got livestock that is still in harm's way, please do something about that. I think they're having to rescue like 50 herd of sheep right now because the water has come up around them. So it's yeoman's work, but at least we got one guy who knows how to do a rope and used to do rodeo. Shout out to George Brown, our undersheriff. And again, I want to remind anybody, as I was looking at that video of the group getting the cattle out of the river area, please, if you're a wrangler or anybody like that, get your tetanus shots. I still have to go get my tetanus shot. Haven't done it yet, but I absolutely will. Go get your tetanus shot. Take care of yourselves. And we are going to get through this. We are. So thank you to everyone who's done all of the hard work.
I'm Joe Krolichek. I'm the director of the Tulsa Area Emergency Management Agency. Since this began, we have been working with all of our local and state and federal partners to coordinate response, and I am just amazed and thrilled with the strong multi-agency response that we've seen to date. There's too many partners to thank each one individually, but I want to let everybody know that the full force and power of government is here, and they are working to resolve this situation. You know, as the water has receded from up in the northern part of Tulsa County, county highway districts and local jurisdictions are working diligently to repair any sort of roads that may be damaged. So we do want to urge people traveling in the northern part of the county to still maintain vigilance and be careful, because as you're driving through and the waters have receded, you may see some road damage. So take it easy on those backcountry roads, please. You know, we are in the process of preparing our transition plan to transition from response to recovery, but at this time, we want to maintain vigilance. The water has not receded yet. The water will continue to be here in some parts of the county, especially in the southern end. We have noticed water is actually still going up a little bit overnight. And so if you live near the river or near any sort of flood situations, we want you to maintain that vigilance. If you're behind the levees, you need to maintain your vigilance and be ready to move if the situation requires it for life safety. Couple safety things I want to kind of remind people. Avoid wading in flood water, please. There can be a lot of dangerous debris or contaminations in that water that could get you, either injure you or make you real sick. We recommend at this time, if you are getting ready, if you've had to wade through the flood water, or you know that your house has been flooded and you're going to have to go in and help with cleaning that stuff out, you get an up-to-date tetanus shot. Those are available out of the Tulsa Health Department. So make sure that you are safe and ready to go. If you are one of those people that is in an isolated area and you might find your power has been cut off, we want to remind people that if you have generators or other gasoline-powered machines, you need to be using those outdoors and away from windows, please. That's the last thing we need is somebody succumbing to any sort of carbon monoxide poisoning. So I know everybody is anxious to see this done and is anxious to get back in their homes. As soon as it is deemed safe for people, we will start announcing procedures and ways for people to get back into their communities. We want to urge everybody at this time to continue to listen for media updates from the authorities regarding that information and instructions on how we can get you back into those currently flooded areas safely. At that time, I'm going to pass it back over to Mayor Bynum for any questions. Thank you.
Allow me to be the Grinch for the press conference. I know everyone is excited by the news from the weather last night, but the river is still having a release out of the dam that's the highest it's been in over 3 decades. We still have a long way to go before we're in a safe place in this community. And so everyone needs to, as Commissioner Keith said, remain vigilant and aware. If you're behind a levee, you should be proactively relocating yourself and your family. And you know, just last night, our neighbors in Sand Springs, first responders there had to go out and rescue some people that decided to go swimming at night. Guess they haven't been introduced to the concept of how septic tanks work that are upstream. But there's so much dangerous related to that water. So this is not a time to be taking a deep breath and relaxing. We're still in a very dangerous situation right now. I do want to ask, again, our governor, who's been such a rock in this for our whole community, if he would mind saying a few words. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mayor. It's been, okay. We'll get Senator Inhofe back up here too. But, you know, it's just been amazing to watch our first responders, to watch our mayor brief everybody across the state, especially in the northeastern part. This has been a tough couple of weeks all across Oklahoma. As I've traveled to western Oklahoma, I've toured the tornado damage there in El Reno. All eyes are on Oklahoma right now. President Trump called me to make sure that every resource that we need from the federal government was available and make sure there was no roadblocks. Yesterday, Vice President Pence called to check on Oklahoma. So I've just been so impressed with the leadership. Yesterday, we met with the chief engineer, the 3-star general, flew in that was in charge of the entire Corps, and he was on the ground, boots on the ground, walking the levees with our great staff, Todd, and also our National Guard. So I want Oklahomans to know that we're on top of it, and I can't thank the first responders, our police, our fire, the emergency department for
making sure that everybody was safe and giving us the warning that we needed, or this could have been much, much worse. So I'm so excited about hearing the hydrology reports that it looks like we're going to kind of start, backing off on our releases out of Keystone, which can't happen fast enough. But you got to keep tuned to emergency responses and our police as we continue to monitor the dam situation, the levees, and make sure we keep you safe. So, thank you, Mayor, for all you've done, and your staff. You guys have been fantastic. And from a state perspective, we're here to help on the cleanup and want to make sure you guys have all the resources that you need. So, I'll turn it back over to the Mayor.
I'd also like to ask our Congressman Kevin Hearn if he'd say a few words.
Thank you. You've heard about everybody working together. I'd like to say, in all seriousness about this disaster, this catastrophic event, we need to learn from this. And so getting together afterwards, seeing what we did well and what we could do much, much better. I've gone around the district listening, learning, and want to lead from that. When we get away from the metropolitan area, it's a little less certain about what's going on downriver. We've all seen and heard what's going on in Muskogee, south of our county and on beyond. So we've got a lot of things we need to learn from this. We don't want these events to come around often, but because we have this event, we want to learn from it and see what we can do better. And again, it's just great to see everybody working together. I know there's a lot of frustration, and so from the federal, from the state, and from the local level, we've had a lot of involvement and a lot of response, and it's great to see as we listen to the thunder roll and the lightning right now. It, fortunately, again, is south of the dam, which makes it a lot better for all of us. It could be much worse. So thank you again, and it's great to see all the coverage we've had, both state, the local, and certainly on a federal and international level as well. We have people in from Sky News and everybody else covering us around the world. So all eyes are on Oklahoma, what we're doing in this time of disaster. And I think it captured it the best. I saw a couple of young people stand on Riverside Drive in a median, waving at people, holding up a big handwritten sign, "Oklahoma, stay strong." So that tells you, how people are in this community, how resilient they are. So thank you so much.
Yeah, let me mention one last thing. We have a document here. Jed, are you around here? Jed Cochran? Yeah, all right, bring some of these up, because we're getting to the point now where we can see the end in sight, and we know that there's good things that are going to happen. There are assistance that come in forms of household assistance, commercial assistance, ag assistance. This is coming from the governor's office as well as from the federal government. So these documents are here, which show people what there is available to them, those people who have been hurt in this. So be sure you avail yourself to this information.
Thank you. We will all be available for individual interviews if any of you want to talk with us after this. Thank you very much for coming out.